Hello everyone, welcome back to League of Legends DFS Esports breakdown for June 30th. DraftKings slate here should be a pretty interesting one. I think this is, at first glance, a pretty cool slate, all things considered. So we'll go ahead and get started. In the recap, have these tabs mixed up here. We'll start in the LPL as we typically do. So we started off pretty strong. We had the FPX upset over RA, not a big one, but this is definitely one that I was pretty interested in, and this was in both of my lineups. I ended up just running a couple lineups, and FPX was in both of them. I had LWX and Clid in both lineups, and mainly what it came down to was a gigantic bottom lane gap. iBoy just got completely destroyed, and thus making the game unwinnable from there. In both games, he just completely was a terrible player. Not much, really too much to break down there. FPX just played around bottom lane really well, did great, and RA were just bad, specifically iBoy. And RA are kind of who we thought they were, and in that sense, so nice plus money. I guess it was even money on FPX, so nice little start there, but it all quickly came crumbling down when Ultra Prime got utterly dismantled by Weibo. Again, this is a pretty disappointing result. I know Ultra Prime were the underdog, but they didn't really even make it competitive. Similar to how one bottom lane just got completely decimated in the first series. It happened again in the second series, just against us this time. Ultra Prime just not quite there yet. Mainly Hacker, Crying, a little bit of Zoom as well. In the first game, it was Elk and Shousey. They just kind of all had their moments to play poorly here. They just put nothing together, and Ultra Prime were just the better team. Again, I thought Ultra Prime's inconsistencies would come back to bite them, but they actually looked relatively good here. It's not going to really change my opinion, I think, on either of these teams. I'm just going to have Ultra Prime a little bit lower, I think, in the pecking order overall. But again, I'm not running to look at Weibo as a pretty solid team quite yet. I think they've just not put much together consistently enough, in my opinion. So pretty disappointing result there. If we look over in the LCK, we had a pretty weird day here as well. Yep, here it is. So we had two upsets, one of them not the craziest. We had LSB beat DRX, but I think they were, again, like a +2 something favorite, 270 maybe. Prince is looking really good. There's not a lot to break down. I think the big difference maker here was Deft and his champion pool. I tweeted about this a little bit, but I wanted to expand on it here. But I don't know why Deft is continuously not picking just traditional scaling crit 80 carries, like we see Prince going with. Like we could see Prince, he just plays the Zeri, he gets his crit strike items, he scales up, gets their, gets his whatever items, and then gets his IE third item, and he's online and really strong. Deft, on the other hand, went with like the lethality Senna, then he went to the Callista, which is not a scaling champion, although Callista does build crit. And then Xayah, he went with the lethality Xayah here as well. I don't know what that is about. They're playing this super slow game plan of scale up and all this stuff, and then they don't pick scaling 80 carries, which is the most vital part in that role. So just pretty all over the place there for DRX. I didn't think they looked that bad. I thought it was just a little bit more of the LSB kind of playing really well and playing around their strengths and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it was just a pretty strong performance from LSB. They're kind of, again, pretty all over the place. That's just kind of the LCK for you. And as you could tell in the next one here, we had a T1 win for game 1 and a close one. And then game 2 and 3 both went over to the KDF side. Mainly what it came down to, again, I think pretty much was the Seraphine just dismantled the other side pretty handedly. Like the look of this KDF comp in this game 3 should like never win, in my opinion. You have no damage anywhere. Like you have a support in the Seraphine, you have a supportive 80 carry, you actually have a complete support in Teddy. He went for the support Imperial Mandate, Support item as well. The Seraphine was the one taking the majority of the farm, so it was like a support player taking the farm from a supportive AD carry, which is just a support in this sense. Then you have a full tank in Ornn, then you have like a half tank in slash engager bruiser, more so in Gnar and Wukong. Like there's no consistent DPS here from KDF, but they just couldn't die really either. They just have too much healing and enough damage from some of these sources as well. Pretty interesting comp. I don't love every aspect of it. Again, I wish they had a full consistent damage dealer, but nonetheless, they looked pretty decent in this one. But again, this one feels pretty odd to me. I knew T1 weren't as strong as I thought, like as most people think. Like again, I think the LCK is really weak as a whole. I think overall they rely too heavily on scaling up, taking these kind of clash your head together team fights at a late game point, and it just being decided there. So I didn't expect this, that's for sure. I wasn't a part of it either, so kind of is what it is. But man, the LCK is just in a really weird spot at the moment. It's kind of all it comes down to for me. We'll go ahead and look ahead and get started here, looking at these LPL games, pretty exciting ones. Overall, we have BLG, IG, and then RNG, OMG. I think rosters are pretty much the same across the board. We still have Icon in for BLG as the mid laner. We have On coming in for Invictus Gaming in the support role. I believe On is has been a support. I saw the comment there that that On was role swapping. I think he's been a support, right? Oh no, he actually was an AD carry. Okay, pretty interesting. So that's something to keep note of. So we do have On coming in. I guess that does make sense. When was the last? I need to stop closing these tabs. I'm such a silly person for that. Oh, nope, the tab was open. So it was LPL Spring. So he played AD carry not too long ago. 4 months ago, he was playing AD carry in the LPL, and then he swaps over to the support role here. This is a pretty interesting one overall. If it was still the same IG lineup, I would be more inclined to look at the underdog pick here. I don't know. This one's actually pretty close in my opinion, and we're gonna have to look at a little bit more just at kind of at least how they're playing and who they're playing right now. So for BLG, they lost to EDG, Top Esports, LNG, they AL as well. The only one that they've won is a 2-1 over Ultra Prime. So they've played relatively decent teams. Again, I don't rate EDG too highly. I don't rate LNG too highly. I don't rate AL highly really either. Yeah, they're obviously much better than a 1-4 record, that's for sure. But this is a pretty tough one, honestly. They did not look fantastic their last time out, but again, they're getting a little bit more time now. I believe the Icon from Profo swap occurred somewhere between the 22nd and the 26th, and we're now at we're at the 30th. So we're looking at a solid week of bringing in Icon, and I do believe that's just kind of a pure upgrade here. This one's really tough. Just kind of at the forefront of this one. This one's pretty tough. We look at this one, and it's definitely close. I could definitely just see this one going either way for sure. Like it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting here. Meanwhile, on the IG side, they lost to AL 2-1. They lost to EDG 2-1. Then, of course, they got swept by Top Esports, and they beat FPX, and they lost to Weibo. So, again, a little all over the board. They 2-0'd FPX. Not a crazy win. And then the rest of their losses are just relatively decent teams. Losing to AL is a little weird. But they actually looked good in the first game against AL, but then it was just like a different game map, like in the second and third game here. I just have a hard time grasping where both of these teams are. I feel like just because BLG is on the move because of the icon swap, there. And then you have IG who's bringing or who has their 80 carry, substitute 80 carry, swapping roles to support. It's definitely pretty concerning. The main thing here is like, it's just kind of like conflicting things where I think overall, if we look at the like top jungle and mid lane, that like top half of the map here, I would lean towards the IG side. Actually, I do think, despite the name power on the BLG side, I actually do think Zika, Shun, and Uakai are playing better than Bin, Weiwei, and Icon. I don't think they're the better players, but they're playing better at the moment. But the big thing that it comes down to for me is the BLG bottom lane being much better. Doggo and Crisp are much better than Wink and On. We don't know how good On is going to be swapping roles, but you can't imagine he's going to be too great, considering just 4 months ago he was playing an entirely different position. And you're going against one of the better 80 carries in all of the world, and then you have a very strong, stable veteran support and Crisp. It's just tough. Honestly, if there's some other things going a different way, I would probably like the IG side a little bit more. This one's close, but I don't know. I really don't know with this one. I think this is close for sure. I should go IG, but the reason I'm so hesitant is because when we look over to the RNG OMG series, I kind of like OMG here as well, and there's a problem there because these are two pretty sizable underdogs. OMG is a plus 410 against RNG, which is madness, and then BLG is minus 260 against the IG side here. I can't possibly imagine endorsing both of these underdogs here. I just have a weird feeling there that like, I'm just not sure. I'm really speechless and really unsure on this one. BLG, like, they've just not looked great, but again, they've played some pretty strong teams. I don't know. I'm gonna go IG here. I wonder, do they have On? Yeah, On is actually in the player pool, but he is as a 80 carry, so that's really bad. You don't want to spend an 80 carry spot on a support for sure. So that's definitely another spot where you'd probably, I don't know, imagine you'd want to play On either way. Because I do think if you do play IG, you probably do want to look to get Zika, Shun, Uakai, and Wink in regardless. I don't think you'd want to go to On. Maybe you can. He will be like sub 10%, but I think the odds that he's an optimal 80 carry playing the support role is pretty low. So that's for sure. I would definitely try to avoid that unless you want to get really risky, but I'd probably advise against that. I just don't know. I just don't know what to make of this team. Like, I think IG is a relatively decent middling team, and they do have a good aggression, and it can cause problems for BLG. The reason, one of the reasons I did end up liking AL against BLG here on 619 was because BLG was, one, there's rumors of them swapping their mid laner to Icon, and two, BLG don't do the best with pressure, and we know IG, similar to AL, similar to JDG, just obviously at a lesser extent, do play with a good amount of forward aggression and pressure. It's tough. The main thing here is we just don't know how good BLG are with Icon. I didn't think they looked great last time out, but I could definitely see them making improvements because the players on this team are just too good to be playing this bad. So I don't know. I just don't want to get baited into thinking, oh, the names are good, let's just keep giving them passes. But at the same time, they've just not been playing well. So for the sake of time, I don't want to spend too much time just saying nothing here. So I will just go with IG. I think the price is just a little odd to me, in my opinion. I don't think BLG's been playing great lately. Granted, again, they've been playing better teams. I don't want to go too far on this one and say BLG's like been playing bad, or I think they have been playing bad, but I don't think they are that bad. I could definitely see them improving here. they definitely make sense as a team to pair up with who I think is a pretty good underdog here in OMG. I'm very, very surprised that the odds are this heavily favored here for RNG, OMG. I feel like OMG's been playing pretty good lately, and not just for their level. They beat LNG, they 2-0 LGD. Like, those are obviously neither too impressive of games. But they took one off of JDG as well. Like, I don't want to put too much stock into these first two games because they were swapping out players and stuff. So for me, I think OMG's season starts in week 3, as odd as it sounds. And they were close with JDG. They beat LNG. They beat LGD pretty handedly. I think they're a pretty decent team. And mainly what it comes down to is, again, I just have not been too impressed with RNG lately at all. For one, they've only been in these 3-game series. One of them was with FPX, who is not a great team. They barely took that. They took over against Weibo, and I think a pretty weird matchup where they definitely could have lost that as well. And they did end up losing to V5 with that substitute mid laner. So it's like RNG is not this like kind of world beater team. And it feels like that's the kind of price tag I feel like we're getting here with RNG. I do think RNG are the deserved favorite. They should be, but minus 650 for RNG in this spot feels pretty radical to me. I could definitely see RNG being like a minus 230 or something. Like, I could definitely see RNG being a relatively sizable favorite and it making sense. Minus 650, they need to win this a lot of the time. And I just do not see that from them lately. It mainly individually, Xiao, who has not been playing well, they've relied really heavily on Gala. And although I do expect Gala to be continuously a really strong player, like the names on RNG again are very, very strong. They could definitely turn this around. They have had a little bit of break, but it's only been 4 days or so, so I don't want to put too much, credence into that. But so far this split, they've not shown me a bunch to really solidify them as like a super, super dominant team, which I think is what they need to be to justify a minus 650 price tag. And again, I think OMG is a team on the rise. Again, they haven't shown a ton in their like 2-0 of LGD. They're kind of beating up on who I think is the worst team in the league in LGD. They 2-1 over LNG, which is a relatively decent team. I think hypothetically, if LNG and RNG played, that'd be a pretty close matchup, probably slightly favoring LNG. And then they again went to 3 with JDG. So I think that we've seen some good amount of improvements for this team. And mainly, again, I think Shanji is one of the strongest players, I think, in the whole league at the moment, at least, like form-wise. Shanji's looking like one of the strongest players in the league. Breathe has not been there yet. Aki's wildly inconsistent, which does bother me. Abel and Cold have been pretty good as well. So I think they can put up enough resistance against Gala and Ring, specifically Gala in that bottom lane. I think they're going to be able to keep it close with the RNG bottom lane, and I think they could even beat out the RNG bottom lane in some circumstances. And I think form-wise, OMG for OMG, Cream has been the worst, but I don't think on the other side RNG for Xiaohu, he's been in stellar form either. So when I just take into account all these things, the price tag just feels really, really crazy to me. I could definitely see this one being close. I think it's a much closer than the price tag is, and frankly, this is just kind of odd to me. Oddly enough, I feel a little bit more confident with the OMG underdog pick than I would with IG, for example. If this was a different slate, then maybe I would feel a little bit better with IG. And if we had like a solid favorite to pair IG up with, then maybe I would be feeling a little bit different on this one. But I do want to get OMG in here, and that's what it comes down to here. Like, I just want to play OMG, but do I want to pair up OMG with IG? Just pair up these two really big underdogs here. That feels kind of bad, and that's for that reason. It's just a little bit uninspiring, and maybe that's just kind of playing into it here for BLG. I think in a vacuum, I would definitely feel a little bit better with IG here. I don't know. I definitely like OMG, but BLG IG still eludes me in terms of what I'm wanting to go. Man, that's pretty interesting. BLG, where are they at? Let's look at their draft from last time out and see what they're playing. That might give us a little bit of info. Let's see, that would have been over here. Not the greatest. I mean, it's kind of standard, nothing too crazy. Game 1 was pretty bad draft, but the rest were pretty normal for BLG. Let's see. I don't think let me check if Icon played in that other series. I don't think so, right? No, he was. So again, here, whoops. Relatively normal draft. This is just interesting to me. I don't know. That one is very, very elusive, in my opinion. I'm really unsure what to make of this BLG OMG or BLG IG game. I'm rarely this stumped. Usually I have pretty strong feelings here, but this just feels odd to me. It's like I could definitely this is one where you could definitely just kind of see a lot of results. Like if you went to bed and you wake up and you checked your score, check the scoreboard and you saw like BLG 2-0, you probably wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. If you saw IG win 2-1, you think, oh, BLG's been slumping. That kind of makes sense also. So you just kind of wouldn't be shocked in a lot of ways, and that's just kind of the thing, like the weird thing for me. Maybe if I had a little bit of more information on IG and why he was swapping and why that situation was going down, then maybe I'd feel better. But for now, I'll leave the official pick as BLG minus 260 as the pick, and then I'll pair them up with OMG at the plus 410. Again, that price is crazy in that OMG RNG game. I feel like this is much closer series than those odds are given. But again, man, that BLG IG one is crazy to me. Like, I know people don't like the MMA math thing, and I talk about this a lot, but like AL 2-0'd BLG, and then there was a close series with AL or IG in game 3. I just don't know. They both got swept by TES. Let's see, they both played Ultra Prime. Nope. They both played EDG, but BLG did a little bit better in that one. I guess IG took one off of EDG as well. Like, I just feel like when you look at these, it's close. You know what? Screw it. I'll go with IG. I'll just kind of go with my gut here a little bit. This price just doesn't make sense to me either. I like IG as a good pivot. I like OMG. If you guys are just tuning into my videos in summer, you guys would know that I traditionally don't pick like a lot of underdogs. I just kind of pick what I pick, and I feel like I've been slamming a lot of underdogs here, and I don't know. I just want to kind of clarify that I'm not trying to force anything or add anything to just pick underdogs. I'm not picking them just to pick them. I feel like there's genuine kind of reasoning and thought process behind it. And that kind of makes sense to me. I am definitely worried with the bottom lane swap of putting on in the support role. But what it comes down to here for me is I think these top 3 players of Sika, Shun, and Uakai are better than the BLG counterparts of Bin, Weiwei, and Icon. And I just hope that the IG bottom lane can hold their own enough against BLG and let those top 3 players kind of come through. Similarly, on the OMG side, again, I just think this is much closer than it looks. I think Shanji's been playing incredibly well. I think Abel and Cold have been playing pretty decently. And we just hope that Aki and Cream can come and perform a little bit. But it's not like Xiao, who's been playing particularly well. Neither has Breathe. Gala has still been playing well, but again, Gala outside of his Kaisa games have not been entirely convincing either. So hopefully OMG take a lesson and ban the RNG Kaisa, and we're probably looking a little bit better there. Since I did ramble a lot about those LPL games, I'll quickly go through the LCK ones, and we can get out of here. Looking at the numbers that I crunched a little bit earlier, Hanwha Life, Fredit Brion, just avoiding completely. Fredit Brion, slight favorite. No interest at all for me. Not even team slot. It would be a good spot for a team slot. I just don't feel comfortable with any of these teams. I mean, Fredit Brion have played Damwon, DRX, Gen G. So they have played a pretty strong strong matchup. I mean, Hanwha played DRX and Gen G as well. I just feel like this is a complete coin flip, and I just don't want to have my team slot there and have my lineups ruined because I picked the wrong team slot. Granted, it could go the other way, and if you do have a team slot you like here, I think this is the series to target a team slot in. This is by far the slowest one. We're looking at an average game time. Actually, the average game time is not that slow, but I mean the kills per minute is really slow. Fredit Brion's average game time is gigantic. So I think overall this would be the series you would want to go to for those team slots. Either you could pick kind of either side. Honestly, my lean is to go with the Hanwha side. I'm not too sure why Fredit Brion is the favorite here, if I'm honest. Like, I know that they've played strong teams, but I don't think they've particularly shown much in these games either. Like, they got swept by KT even. They got swept by Damwon, DRX, Gen G. I mean, it's fine to get swept by DRX, Damwon, and Gen G. It is what it is. But on the Hanwha side as well, they've lost to DRX in a closer fashion. They got swept by Gen G. They did lose to KDF and Nongshim, but I think KDF and Nongshim are pretty decent here as well. So I'm not sure why that price tag is like that either. I kind of like the Hanwha side here. Fredit Brion has not convinced me of much of anything, especially their very slow nature. Pretty concerning for sure. Again, I don't love this one. I would probably just X this out altogether, but if you have like a weird build you like and you land with like 5.3k in your team slot, I wouldn't mind putting in a Hanwha there, but that's the extent of that series that I'm willing to go to. Gen G Nongshim, this one is one where I'm willing to play a little bit of from the Gen G side. We know Nongshim like to get down in the early game and then give it all back up later. So if Gen G thwart them and do well at all points in the game, then I could definitely see them scoring well as well. I'd put them definitely on par with the BLG IG series, but I think statistically speaking, RNG OMG is the number one game to target. The numbers are pretty strong in this game, up to 25 combined kills per map. And then you have BLG IG at 24, and then Nongshim Gen G at 23, and then Hanwha Life Fredit Brion all the way down at 19. So pretty big gap there. I think statistically speaking and kind of like eye test speaking, these are kind of in the same order for me. It'd be RNG OMG, then BLG IG, then Nongshim Gen G. But again, I think it's worth noting that Gen G sweep bonus, can come in clutch as well. And I think over in the LPL, the underdogs are pretty live, so I'm willing to, pair up Gen G with some of these LPL underdogs, just because I think maybe it's more likely that these underdogs win in like a 2-1 as opposed to a sweep. It's hard to kind of justify or hard to argue that you would see an OMG sweep over RNG here. But again, I don't think that's too crazy, in my opinion. So overall, that's where I'm leaning. We'll look at the players and then get out of here. We'll go to our trusty run query. We are looking at OMG, we are looking at Gen G, and we are looking at IG. Overall, we'll look at our groupings here. Looks like the OMG grouping is pretty strong. We have Cold, Abel, and Shanji up here. Cream and Aki are towards the bottom, so that's something to keep in mind. I think maybe in this spot, OMG would be a pretty solid secondary pick, or if you just want to do like a weird 3-3 stack, then you're looking at getting really, really unique, but that's something to keep in mind. Again, Jerry 009 are not playing for OMG, so keep those ones out as well. For IG, does look like Shun, Yuakai. It would be Shin Liu, but he is not playing. Then Wink, and then looks like Zika's all the way towards the bottom as well. Overall for Gen G, it's actually pretty decent as well. We have Ruler, Chobi, Peanut, Lehens, and Dorans towards the bottom. So for top laner, it definitely would be Shanji. We'll go quickly position by position, and then go ahead and get out. Again, link in the description if you guys want to run this for your own. I actually think it's not updated, but if you guys click on this and you're getting different teams, all you need to do is make sure that these say summer instead of spring, and then you can add your teams in here. These just say LPL 2022 summer. They might say spring in the link, but just change these to summer, and then these should be good to go. Again, top laner, Shanji's by far the best, but again, if you want to go to like the Gen G Doran side and get that sweep, it's fine as well. But if you're like me and playing some OMG, then Shanji's going to be a pretty great option. For junglers, Shun is definitely a really, really strong option. He's a pretty big participant in their wins. So if you're going that direction, I would love to get him in, but Peanut would be a solid option as well. Looks like Aki would probably, his numbers are pretty bad. He would be the one I would try to avoid from that OMG side as well. For mid laners, they're all pretty similar. Looks like Yuakai is a little bit better, but we're all in like a 70 to 63 margin here, so all pretty close. These are all Yuakai, Chobi, and Cream are all fine depending on what stack you're going with. I think Cream will maybe be the one you left out from a lot of the I think Cream's ownership could be a little low because he is going against Xiaohu, but I think Xiaohu's form is pretty low at the moment, so I wouldn't be too terrified of that. But again, all three are fine. For AD carries, I think they're all fine. Abel would be number one. He is a pretty big part of their victories, but again, Ruler is fine as well. Wink's numbers have not been the best, but they're on the climb. I think if you go with it's just these are all fine. I would go with whoever you're stacking with as well. Then for supports, again, no Jerry. Cold, Shin Liu. Shin Liu is not playing either, but again, I would not play on because, again, the opportunity cost of putting on in your AD carry slot is pretty tough. It would be a pretty crazy game if IG, if on in the AD carry slot ended up outscoring everyone else, because again, if you're going with IG, then you're going to need another. You would have to have on outscore every other AD carry in this range. You would need on to be like the second most scoring AD carry behind Wink. And that just feels incredibly unlikely. Somebody would come through. You'd have to imagine between Gala, Dago, Ruler, somebody would outscore him on. So I would definitely leave him out. So for supports, it would just be Cold and Lehens. I think either one of these are fine depending on your stacks. But I do like getting in the sweep bonuses from those big heavy favorite supports. They could definitely add up here, like we do see from Lehens. When he does do pretty decently, he can get up to like an 80-point mark. You'd be pretty pleased with that for the support role, I think, in this one. So that'll be it for me today. Again, pretty interesting one. Guess quick recap before we go. RNG, OMG, BLG, IG, and then Nongshim, Gen G. Those are the three games in that order that I would like to target. I do like both of the LPL underdogs. Again, it feels odd. I feel like I'm continuously just jamming in these underdogs, but they don't feel like they're in bad spots, or they don't feel unnatural or forced to me. So I'm fine just continuing to lock and load them. I'm going to have a small sprinkle of OMG and IG together lineups, probably super unique, but again, I don't mind that. I like pairing up Gen G with IG and OMG as well. I'm not afraid of this one. I take my stands. I'll do what I want to do, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and always tomorrow. So that'll be my outlook for tonight. And as crazy as it sounds, we're going with the double LPL underdogs. My pick is going to be Hanwha Life, but again, 0 DFS exposure, maybe a team slot here. But that's shooting for the complete stars. If you go with like OMG and then Hanwha team slot, you're a completely insane person. But I think, like, optimally speaking, I could definitely see that coming through, just because I do think Fredit Brion Hanwha is the ideal team slot environment. However, it's just getting that right adds another insane level of variance to your lineup. I just don't know if that's worth it in itself. So something to keep in mind as well. So that'll be it for me today. Pretty interesting one. I'm pretty excited for these games. I just have that feeling with these series. I could definitely see the double underdog in the LPL coming through and people being a little shocked maybe. But I think the RNG OMG game particularly is very, very odd to me. I feel like OMG's been playing pretty well. I feel like RNG has not been playing that great. So these odds definitely seem very confusing to me. So maybe I'll be proven a little bit silly later, but we'll have to wait and see that for sure. So that'll be it from me tonight. Best of luck to you all, and I will see you guys again tomorrow.